Hello, Giants fans. Welcome to Giants Baseball 101. I'm Gabe Vaughn, your host. Winter meetings is this weekend. That's pretty exciting. I'm not going to give up on trying to join the effort here. Yeshaya Goldfarb, the Vice President of Baseball Resources and Development for the Giants, has just asked to see my resume. Let the win begin. Oh, no. No, that was a joke. Baseball's an industry where you got to start at the bottom. That's what, this is just the beginning. Not sure what this will turn into. It's what I do, so don't make me the hero. Don't make me the hero yet. I'm going to be starting at the bottom, doing what people tell me to do. Anyway, that's not what we're talking about today. You may have noticed that there's no video today. That's because I'm managing technology for something very special. We have a very special guest joining us. If you can believe it, former Major League player Mike Kinkade. Let me punch in this call. He'll be with us in just a moment.
Hello, Gabe. It's Mike Kinkade.
Mike, thank you so much for joining us today. I'm sure every single viewer and subscriber that's on this channel is really happy to hear from you.
Excited to be here.
Absolutely. So Mike, I want you to take me back to the 1990s when you were a young man playing baseball. Was baseball your one drive mind and your one drive passion? As we know, very few people are fortunate enough to play in the big leagues, and yet those who do, like you, must feel a significant sense of accomplishment. So what were you feeling like back then? Was that your one drive mind and passion?
I'll tell you, my story is probably a little different. I actually grew up playing tennis.
Ah.
And I moved around a bunch, and I really started playing baseball late. I would say probably, I played a little in summer here and there, but my sophomore year in high school is when I really started playing baseball. Moved up to Oregon and started put down my tennis rackets, and I'm have to say there was a little bit of an attitude issue that my dad took away my tennis rackets, but then I started playing baseball and kind of took off. People used to joke around when I very first switched over to baseball that I kind of looked like I was swinging a tennis racket, but
that's like Lorenzo Cain, right? He didn't know how to swing a bat or throw a ball, and he had a real productive career. So you didn't play Little League Baseball as a kid?
So I did. Like I said, I kind of played like in the summer, like here and there, but it wasn't. I didn't play school ball. I really played tennis. I played tennis year round. It was all the time. I kind of played other sports, but I would joke around with my mom all the time. She was always driving me from one sport to another. I was always, if I was playing, football or baseball or basketball, it was always tennis also. I was always playing two sports then. So.
Well, sometimes pure athleticism pays off, and it seemed to do so in your particular case. So at what age would you say you really felt like you were going to give the big leagues really your best shot and that you were going to grind this thing out?
I was, back to like cliches and kind of different approach. Like, since I got into baseball late, it really wasn't like my goal. You talk about like I played all different sports, and I really enjoyed just playing and playing the game. Like it sounds like cliche, like any game I was playing, I wanted to win that game and do the best I can. And if I didn't, I would always blame it on myself and figure out a way that I could win the next game. And that's kind of the attitude I had in high school and college. And so when I got to pro ball, it was the same way. Like, I really enjoyed the minor leagues because I wasn't trying to get to the big leagues. I was just trying to win that day. Like, it's just like you try to teach kids this, and but they always have a bigger goal of getting to the big leagues. Mine wasn't. I tell people all the time, like, I actually enjoyed playing in the minor leagues more than I enjoyed playing in the big leagues. Because when I finally got to the big leagues, I realized, it wasn't a game anymore. It was a business. Like, this was my career. This was what I was supposed to do to earn a living for the rest of my life. And yeah, it kind of wasn't a game anymore. It wasn't that just I'm going out there to win this, just to win the day.
I think that's a great way to go. I'll tell you, I play wiffle ball baseball games, and you know how hard it is to. I'm usually the pitcher. You know how hard it is to control a wiffle ball? That's why after every single outing, I feel bad, and sometimes I can't sleep that night. But I guess on a bigger level, that's the way you went. So let us in on what rounds were you drafted in, and when were you drafted? Was it out of high school or
So
college?
yeah, and I was supposed to get drafted out of high school, but I was going to school, and it wasn't really an option. But once again, like I just didn't understand, and my family didn't understand. You know, a lot of times when kids get drafted higher, it's a family decision. It's not just up to the kids. And you know, any scout that called, my dad just hung up on him and said, he's going to school, and I was going to go to school, whether it was a junior college or a 4 year, and I ended up at Washington State. I was going to go to school. So I didn't get drafted out of high school. I did get drafted after my junior year in the 19th round, but I elected to go back to school for my senior year so I could graduate, and then I got drafted again in the 9th round after my senior year.
Yeah, I mean, you get drafted just late, real late in the draft. Those players would particularly have to grind. I mean, if you're a top prospect, it's like for a while, until they give up on you, they protect you. They're going to let you play through struggles. Their goal is to develop those prospects. And 19th round, I'm not sure like what prospects that would hold for somebody. But yeah, you moved up like 10 rounds, and I think that was a real good thing. Ninth round, always a lot more realistic there. So grinding through the minor leagues, I think that what you're saying is that that process was made easier for you because you were able to put everything in perspective in that you enjoyed playing in the minor leagues, which is something not everybody would do, to be honest. I mean, some people wouldn't like all the travel and stuff, not to mention the low pay considering the time that it takes. But was that just an advantage for you in really moving up through the system, the fact that you put everything into perspective and manage yourself mentally so that you could prepare yourself physically to play every day? And was that really an asset to you in moving up through the system?
Yeah, I'll answer that, and I'll kind of answer the whole thing. So getting back to like when I signed as a senior, so I was a senior sign, so there actually wasn't much value in that because as a senior you have no leverage, and so they didn't give me a big signing bonus, even though I moved up 10 rounds. I actually got the same amount of money as they offered me. It was the same team. Milwaukee Brewers drafted me my junior year and my senior year. So I didn't really have a lot of leverage, and not that I really cared. Like I said, I was kind of different. I'm gonna have to say kind of naive about the minor league systems and moving up. Now, yes, it did help me. So I you would have to say I would have to grind to make to the leagues, but I didn't really view it that way. I viewed it like I'm gonna go out and help my team win today, and I kind of took that attitude every single day. And it's really tough to do now on the outside looking in, to have that type of attitude, because the minor leagues is really difficult. Like you play every single day. There's no days off. If you maybe have one day off a month, it's usually a travel day, so you're spending 12 to 18 hours on the bus. Like it is a grind. Like it really is tough. It was something I really enjoyed. So the mental part of that wasn't an issue to me now that I'm the outside looking in, especially like kids coming out of high school that have never been away from their family, and all of a sudden you're away for 5 months of the year, and you're on the bus, and you have a set of friends that you don't choose. Like that's your team. Those are your friends. Those are the guys you're hanging out with every day. So I would say yes, that it really helped me out. Doing that and moving up, but it's not easy. It's not an easy process.
Well, you've definitely served as inspiration to me, but being a guy who's trying to work in the front office. And before I called you, I was just explaining to my fans, I was telling them don't make me the hero. And I'm not sure that they would anyway, but I was telling them I'm going to have to grind. I'm just telling them the process. I mentioned to them I was going to the winter meetings this year, but you've been plenty of inspiration to me. And that thing you mentioned about not having any leverage in your senior year of college, I think that really is just a deficiency of the fact that baseball is so tied down. Really, any sport is, but yeah, it's so tied down to the education systems that it really ends up that way. I mean, if baseball weren't really tied down to college in the way they drafted players, it wouldn't be such a serious issue, and it wouldn't be such a conflict, a guy's education and his potential sports career. And also, like, that whole senior thing, that the assumption would be that you're only going to be able to, or that you're only going to get one bachelor's degree, and then you graduate from college and you pretty much do stop playing. So to me, I just think that's a deficiency in the whole system of the way they do this, the way the whole MLB draft process works. I think it's just the way society has built it in, that schools do baseball, and the baseball people hopefully do school and all that. I think it's just kind of the way society has built it in. But were you feeling nervous during that senior year, or were you feeling like it was going to come out right for you somehow?
Um, Getting back to what you were saying about the deficiencies, so I agree with you like 100%. Like, it was built in, and I don't know if their changes that they're doing are making it better, like with the NIL and some of the stuff they're doing, the transfer portal and trying to get. Now I know the minor leagues have gotten better, like the whole system of labor laws and how the minor leagues sued MLB, and I know they got their pay increased and some of the conditions better. But some of those stuff, like I said, I agree with you. Like, there's deficiencies, and I know they've tried to do some things, but I don't know if it's really made it better. But getting back to now, what was the question? I kind of went off a little bit about.
Yeah, I was just asking, did you feel nervous in your senior year of college, since it probably felt kind of like your last opportunity, although some sign as amateur free agents after that? I'm sure that in a way it felt like kind of your last opportunity. What feelings did you experience at that time?
I really don't remember being nervous. I remember, so I had 3 shoulder surgeries in college, and I remember after I think my third one, and I think that and I got nervous. I really thought, man, am I ever going to throw again? Am I ever going to play again? Is this really the end? And I remember working my way back after that third one, and I got drafted my junior year. And so then my senior year, no, I wasn't nervous. I thought it was always in the cards that I was going to play after college. I didn't have a great senior year compared to my other years, but it wasn't because of nerves. It was just one of those baseball things, I guess. It's baseball's kind of funky that way sometimes. But no, I wasn't nervous. It was I always thought I was going to continue playing afterwards.
Yeah, and just going back to what we were saying about kind of the deficiencies in kind of the amateur baseball market, at least they're starting to at least try to fix this thing with international signings and trying to make these kids make decisions that they're not ready to make. I'm happy that at least they're trying to do something about that. Do you think that that's going to play out?
Yeah, I hope so. Cause, the stuff they got in the other countries, Latin countries, they're talking about education, especially like I'll just say the Dominican academies.
Yeah.
Some of these academies are pulling out young kids out of school and putting them in these academies that are making them, showcase players, and they're basically signing their career away to these agents that are doing that. And I think, that's got to be fixed. Like, got to be something with the draft and the signing to do something like that. And I didn't know about that till I was on the player development side when we get these players, coming over from the Dominican. They haven't really ever played, and they lost their education to it, but boy, could they hit a BP fastball really far, and they could throw really hard, but they didn't really know how to play the game of baseball.
Yeah, well, there are definitely practices that have to be stopped. Anyway, going on to your major league career, what do you think was your biggest accomplishment or just your biggest moment over those parts of 6 seasons that you played in the big leagues?
Well, I'm gonna go off and say it wasn't in the big league. So I got to play with USA twice, and I played with in 2000 the team that won the Olympic gold in Sydney. So that was definitely a highlight, like just unbelievable to wear USA across your chest and go over and win. And the other time I got to play was in 2006 when we was the Olympic qualifying team for 2008, but we went to Cuba and it was the same thing. We won, and it was just as cool. Just the fact that to play for your country and win, was definitely the highlight. Both times.
Yeah, sounds super cool. So throughout your career, like what things, it could be anything from mechanics to approach to just whatever, what things made you succeed at times and what things made you struggle at others?
I would say definitely succeed was two things, and this is like you talk about all the time is this a game of adjustments, baseball, and you're talking offensively or defensively. Pitching is in rules, umpires. I mean, we were talking today about rules, but even analytics. What we're talking about is like it's a game of adjustments, and you have to be willing to adjust.
Mm-hmm.
If you're still trying to do the stuff that worked for you last week, last month, last year, in college, in high school, you're not going to be successful because that doesn't. What may have been working last week, if it's not working now, you have to be able to adjust. And I was willing to adjust, probably too much, probably all the time. But the other thing I would say was also the willingness to adjust, where I would listen to a coach, and I would go try it. Now, whether I continued with it, like whether it worked for me was a different story, but the willingness to adjust as well. Like I once said, and I talk to hitters all the time, about just try it. Just try what I'm asking you to do. It may not work. So and the example I used, if a hitting coach told me 10 different things and one of them worked, I would say he's a pretty good hitting coach. I would try them all, but he got one thing to work for me. And like I said, it may not work in a month. It may just be working now, but he got one thing to work for me. The 9 other things, I couldn't use anymore, or I had to get rid of pretty quick. But he got one thing to work for me. So those would be the two things. I know they're pretty similar, but I would say that really helped me during my career.
I believe you. You know why? Because I've had to make plenty of adjustments just as a little league umpire, if you can believe it.
I believe it.
Anyway, I want to talk just for a minute about the 2002 season, which was your best season. You batted .380 and had an OPS of 1,000, which are great numbers, granted over a small sample size. And it was primarily as a pinch hitter. And it's supposed to be, it's kind of a general consensus that pinch hitting kind of brings you in cold off the bench, but you were just a great player that year. What would you say specifically was for that year, the key for you? And additionally, was it any problem for you coming in off the bench? Because obviously, over that time span, you remained hot.
Yeah, pinch hitting is difficult. Pinch hitting is hard. As we've read, I think the pitch hitting, the analytics, I think the average or the projected goes down like 30 or 40 points of whatever you were, and I got to the big leagues, and when the first time I made the big leagues in the Mets, I was basically a pinch hitter, and there was one thing I would always like to tell the front offices and managers is never make a young player a pinch hitter, because it's really hard. Like I'd always reserve that for those guys that have 7 or 8 years and they're in the twilight of their career. Let those guys that are used to the league and the pitching and they've been around, be those guys that could pinch hit. Back to the 2002 year, I would say I was successful in the big league that year because I was healthy. I had a hard time staying healthy. In the minor leagues that year, I went through a couple injuries. I had a good minor leagues. I didn't get called up right away because the day they were going to call me up, I broke my thumb. And then right when I came back from that, I like my first couple of games back, I broke my rib, and so it took me a long time to get up there. But by the time I got up there, I was fully healthy, and then when I got called up, I was healthy, and so and the rest of the year I stayed healthy that year. So I think that had a lot of my success was just being healthy. I had a tough time staying healthy throughout my career.
Yeah. Should they have given you more playing time that year? I mean, that might depend partially on your defense, and I haven't really researched that, so I'm not sure what the quality of your defense was. But if you were the manager and you had a player just like yourself, would you say he should get more playing time in a season like that?
So my issue was not that year, not in 2002. In 2003, I find it, and I was always with Hall of Famers. To tell you the truth, like on the positions I played, when I was with the Mets, I mean, you look at I had Ricky Henderson in left, and Bobby Bonilla, and then Robin Ventura playing third, and John Holderwood playing first. Like, where are you going to fit in Mike Kinkade in that lineup? It's just and Mike Piazza catching. Don't forget about him. Like, there's no place for me to fit in as a pinch hitter, but as a role guy, and when I was with the Dodgers, we had Brian Jordan, and I mean we just had in the positions I played, there was always phenomenal big leaguers, that were already there. Sean Green and Wright, and when I finally started in 2003, it was kind of the same thing. When I finally started working my way into a starting lineup, and I was doing well, and it was kind of the same thing. I started as a pinch hit role at 2,000 a year, and I finally started working my way in. It was kind of the same deal, and then I got hurt, and then I tried to play through it the rest of the year and really suffered. So, and it was really, whenever I was healthy, I could play. And whenever I played through a lot of stuff and just wasn't that successful. If you're gonna look at my defense, I wasn't known for my defense. I was known like not the best defender by any means.
Anyway, what ended your career? Was it primarily a loss of good health?
Yeah, it was actually my knee. I actually have my story at my last at bat. I was in AAA, and I was facing Scott Air. He was down on a rehab assignment from the Cubs, and it was AAA, and he was tipping his pitches, and I fouled the pitch. It was on my birthday too. I fouled the pitch off, and my knee just went out, and I was like, oh no. I was like, my knees just went out, and I'm standing there looking at the catcher, and I was like, oh well. And I got back in the box, and he was tipping his pitches, and next pitch, I knew he was throwing me a fastball, and I hit it, and I hit it good, and I start running to first base, and I can't run, and I was like, please get out, because I can't run, and I actually hit a home run, and then I had the slowest home run trot ever. I thought about walking because I was going so slow, and I eventually got around the bases. I went in the dugout, couldn't go down the stairs, so I had to hop down on one leg, and the manager saw me. I was playing first, and I kind of hopped up there, and the next guy got out, and I went to first base, and they sent somebody to replace me, and and that was my last at bat, and I was walking off the field with Scott because they took him out that inning, and with the Cubs, AAA, I was actually walking next to him as we're walking off the field, and I was walking to the training room. And I was talking to him, and I was like, hey, man, sorry about that slow home run trot. He's like, no big deal. He was like, he didn't care. And I was like, by the way, you're tipping your pitches. And so I told him what he was doing. He got called up, and they went to the playoffs that year, and I saw he had fixed it going there. So
yeah. Ouch.
I mean, story.
Yeah, that's got to hurt. And your coaching career, how did that go? Do you feel like your coaching career was a fulfilling one?
It was good. I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed coaching. I really enjoyed the kids. I enjoyed the pro ball. The reason I got out of that was I have some older boys. I got 4 boys, and my older boys were getting into high school, and I was just traveling too much, and I wanted to see them in high school. So I got out of coaching and actually opened up a gym just so I could be closer to them while they were in high school.
Yeah. What are your favorite statistics and analytics?
The first thing that jumped out to me that I kind of knew about, but I didn't pay attention was the amount of runs they give per out per base situation.
Yeah.
So I thought that was real interesting. I probably went over that chart for how long and just sat there and kept thinking of all the different situations and what they put on that. I mean, there's a ton of other numbers. Like, I enjoy it. Like, I really do enjoy the numbers and getting in depth about it. I'll tell you, I think analytics goes a little too far in terms of looking for answers. But I really enjoy going through the numbers though.
Mike, thank you so much for being on tonight, and congratulations on doing something that when you look at the population, hardly anyone else has ever done. Congratulations. Thank you so much, and have a great night.
I appreciate it, Gabe, and thank you to everybody else out there.
Yeah. Was that exciting? Well, thank you so much for joining me. Please subscribe if you have not, and I'll see you, next week. I'll be in San Diego. I might have to do something from there. We'll have to see. I'm going to have to see how this goes. If it makes sense to do so, I might do a video from San Diego. But I'm fighting this battle to get into the front office, and it starts next weekend. So thank you for joining me. Please make sure you subscribe if you haven't, and comment, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have. I'll see you next time on Giants Baseball 101.